So we've got some signs here at the Trump rally. Everyone's talking about toning down the rhetoric. We also have some other ones like I hate Taylor Swift, some other things Donald Trump has said. So we're going to see which ones are more popular with Trump supporters here. Hey guys, we're giving out free signs. We've got tone down the rhetoric, and then we've got lock up Kamala.
You want lock up Kamala? Yeah. Or could you want to tone down the rhetoric sign?
Yeah, that's
no.
Down.
Lock her up.
You want to lock up Kamala?
Lock up Kamala. Yeah.
Okay. Not the tone down the rhetoric?
No.
Wait, I don't think I understand. The right under Trump is encouraging everyone to tone down the rhetoric because they say this rhetoric is what's causing Trump to be shot at. So why aren't his supporters wanting to take signs that say don't say that kind of thing?
We thought the tone down the rhetoric was going to be the popular one, but people wanted they're eating cats and dogs, which is kind of crazy rhetoric.
Do you want to tone down the rhetoric one?
No, she wants to.
You don't want to tone down the rhetoric one. Okay, here you go. Tone down the rhetoric.
See, that's the one. That's a hard sell.
That's a hard sell?
Yeah.
Why is it hard?
Turn up the rhetoric.
Why don't they want the tone down the rhetoric signs? It's confusing, or it would be confusing if I was incredibly gullible, like most Trump supporters are. The good liars do it again by pointing out the hypocrisy on the right in this country, led by the hypocrisy king, Donald Trump. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. You can subscribe to my podcast, Last Week on Earth, where I cover the entire week, every week. Let's focus for a moment on this ridiculous hypocrisy.
So tone down the rhetoric. Okay. But then what were you saying about Kamala?
She's committed treason against our country.
Okay.
You see, people on the left, myself included, say some pretty extreme things about Donald Trump and MAGA. Like I pointed out in a previous video, Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro basically blamed me directly by showing a clip of me on the Young Turks main show, comparing Trump's language to Hitler's language. And a bunch of other commentators and comedians doing the same. And then Trump, on the other side, says very similar things, says that Kamala is a communist who wants to ruin the country, a Marxist who wants to take away capitalism, wants to take away your guns, wants to kill babies after they're born, says that immigrants are eating cats and dogs. The only difference is that those things are lies coming from Trump and coming from us on the left. We're pointing out Trump's lies. We're pointing out Trump's incendiary rhetoric. It's not okay to be a leader in this country, making up lies and saying insane inflammatory things to get elected and to denigrate and slander your opponent. It is okay to point out the person doing that, Trump and his supporters, and say you can't do that. That's like what was done in Nazi Germany leading up to World War II, for example. It's our duty to point that out. But here's Speaker Mike Johnson, as you might expect, blaming us.
When the message goes out constantly that the election of Donald Trump would be a threat to democracy and that the republic would end, I mean, it heats up the environment. We cannot do that. It's simply not true. Everyone needs to turn the rhetoric down.
And I'm sure after the second person wanting to take Trump's life in the last couple of weeks, he was not shot at the second time, to be clear. He was scouting out the golf course, waiting for Trump to come by in hopes to do that. I'm sure Trump, at least during his call to tone down the rhetoric, is himself toning down the rhetoric, right? Take a look at these posts.
In an interview with Fox News Digital yesterday, Trump pointed the finger at President Biden and Vice President Harris, claiming their rhetoric is causing him to be shot at. He claimed Biden and Harris are, quote, destroying the country both from the inside and out. He later warned on social media, quote, because of this communist left rhetoric, the bullets are flying.
That's not inflammatory,
and it will only get worse.
He literally, while saying that the other side is saying he's destroying the country, leading to people wanting to shoot him, but they're actually the ones destroying the country. He can't even in a post saying to tone down the rhetoric, tone down his own rhetoric. The man's lack of self-awareness is unbelievable. I'm sure at least his running mate can be a moderating force that can be a little bit more common sense driven, won't blame the left for this. I'm sure what he says will be very reasonable. Take a look.
You know, the big difference between conservatives and liberals is that no one has tried to kill Kamala Harris in the last couple of months, and two people now have tried to kill Donald Trump in the last couple of months. I'd say that's pretty strong evidence that the left needs to tone down the rhetoric and needs to cut this crap out. Somebody's going to get hurt by it, and it's going to destroy this country. All of us. And I promise I will do my part to tone down the rhetoric, but in particular, the people telling you that Donald Trump needs to be eliminated, you guys need to cut it out or you're going to get somebody hurt.
Right. So it's just 100% a fault of the people calling out the man who literally is a threat to our democracy because he provably and very obviously is, because he led a rebellion, did everything possible to not certify our elections, tries to undermine our elections at every point, calls immigrants animal eaters and says they're poisoning the blood of our country, and speaks in the most apocalyptic terms always. Israel won't exist if he's not elected, he says. He says Catholics are crazy if they don't support him. Jews are crazy if they don't support him. They should have their heads examined. And he wants to round up millions and millions of immigrants and get them out of the country if he has to use camps to do it or violent means to do it. He said it's going to be pretty nasty, aggressive stuff to do his plan. We shouldn't point that out, though. We should totally tone down the rhetoric because that's exactly what they're doing on the right. They're toning. I'm being told they're not. They're doubling down. They're doubling down on their rhetoric. So they just want the Harris-Walz campaign to tie an arm behind their back while they keep making up blatant, complete lies about them. But they don't want Harris-Walz to be able to call out actual facts about Trump-Vance because people are trying to shoot Trump. Again, for the record, the first shooter was politically confused and a registered Republican who had once donated to a Democratic campaign when he was 18 years old. It was $15. And this most recent guy was a Trump supporter until recently and still was a Republican, according to what I've been able to discern, and wanted, I believe, Nikki Haley to run with Vivek Ramaswamy. It's not exactly a Harris supporter right there. But go ahead and make that up, as long as it's toned down when you do it. You know, just tone down your rhetoric when you say really incendiary, insane things. Then everything's fine. My head hurts. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. You can follow me at Ben Gleib on Instagram for lots more, and subscribe to my podcast, Last Week on Earth, on all the podcast platforms. Thanks.